Hi, I'm Jackie Morris, and I write and illustrate books, and I wanted to do a brief introduction to what the Spell Songs project is, which is not easy, but I'm going to do my best. So in 2015, Robert Macfarlane and myself worked together to make a book, and the book is called Lost Words. It's very big, and it is words and images, spell poems. It's gone on to have quite an extraordinary life. That's an idea of what it looks like. When it was very young, still very much in its infancy, Robert and I did an event at Hay Festival. They have a summer festival, which is wonderful, but they also have this amazing little intimate festival, which is a winter one, which happens in November, December. And we were asked to talk about the book, so we went and we talked. And at the very beginning of our talk, we showed a film. The film was Kerry Andrew, who is an amazing musician, who Robert had given the words of the Wren to, and she had not just spoken it, but she'd set it to music in the most beautiful way. It's quite astonishing, really. So that was how we started all our talks, and unbeknownst to us, in the audience was a lady called Caroline Slough, and she works with an organisation, or is the main part of the organisation with her husband, which is Folk by the Oak, who commission projects, musical projects. She took the book home, she spoke to her husband over breakfast the next morning and said, I think I found our next project, and approached Robert's and mine's agent to talk about whether we would be interested in allowing them to form a group of musicians to produce music which was inspired by the book. We said yes, and then over what seemed like an age, actually, so if you think this was November, by September we gathered for our first meeting, and Adam and Caroline had curated this group of 8 musicians, some of the finest musicians working today, to collaborate on the project, which was to become Spell Songs, which looks like this. And inside, when you open, there's the CD nestled in there. We met in September, just for a couple of days, and Robert took the musicians for a walk, and we talked about creating the book, how we collaborated, words and images. They read spells, and we showed them new spells that we'd been working on together, and then went away, and we got together again in January in a house in Molyneux, near Hay-on-Wye. And over a period of 8 days, the musicians put together something remarkable. It's quite, it takes a leap of faith to hand your work over to people, and then we stepped back. What we said was, just use the book as the catalyst. It's like a seed. It's like giving the seed to somebody else. We know nothing about music other than what we love to listen to. It's a huge leap of trust that your work is in good hands, but you know, we knew these people, we knew their work, we listened to all of them, and we trusted them. Adam and Caroline did the same thing. They provided the space, they provided an income, and they said, over to you. And the musicians then made something which I think is just beautiful. I think it's hard to talk about because it's such an emotional thing to be involved in, but I think what they have made is amazing, and I'm so glad that we are going to have another go at working together and making something which I hope will be even stronger. Anyway, have a listen, see what you think. This is the CD, even better than that. Look at this. This is the vinyl. Isn't that amazing? Very beautiful.
Hello, I'm Kris Drever.
Hi, I'm Rachel Newton.
Hi, I'm Beth Porter.
Hello, I'm Karine Polwart.
She's Karine Polwart. I'm Jackie Morris.
Hi, I'm Jim Molyneux.
Hi, I'm Julie Fowlis.
Hello, and I'm Andy Bell, and this is the Lost Words Spell Songs.
One, two, one. Would you hew me to the heartwood cutter? Would you lay me low beneath your feet? Listen to my sad mutter. Hear my heartwood beat. Would you throw me on the log pile cutter?
Was that a coupler on the accordion, Jim?
Yeah, it was.
Cool.
We started off as clicking our fingers, but then we thought that sounded a bit too R&B.
Yeah, I think you were messing around with it, weren't you? And then just sort of decided it worked.
Because on the shows, on the shows, it's Julie with is it drumsticks or claves or?
Yeah, well for this tour we were going to use these tiny hands, but
I can't wait.
Would you rest your eyes a while and sleep? Listen to the song I utter. Hear my
I remember Rachel having a really groovy part, and I really wanted to be part of that groovy part.
And this did just come together in the middle room in the house, didn't it? Sitting round those couches, kind of just pissing on your instrument.
Yeah.
Yeah, was this the same time as like the Otter ensemble meant that we all ended up in that space with Jackie, and then these other things sort of came out of that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
the rain, I eat the sun, I give the breath that fills your lungs, I hear the roaring engines thrum, but I cannot run. Would you hew me to the heartwood cutter?
I came to the house a day after everyone else because of childcare, and I remember coming down the road feeling quite stressed because I didn't know what about feeling this was the only thing that I had in any shape to bring to the house, and at the time I think I'd arranged it with a harmonium rather than with strings.
Yeah.
But yeah, I arrived kind of thinking, God, I hope this is enough. And then got there and you'd all written like a dozen songs already. Like no pressure.
It's quite relaxing though, surely. You know, the pressure's off a little bit. There's 7 songs done or whatever.
You made up for it, Karine.
Late start.
And that song was like, I suppose, quite close to my heart when I heard you do it, because it's all about the Sheffield trees, isn't it, Karine?
Yeah, it is. It's all to do with the. I think the trees in Sheffield had all been given over to a private company to maintain in the city, and there'd been literally thousands of them earmarked to get chopped down. And Rob wrote the spell, I think, as part of the kind of citywide protest against that. Is that right, Andy?
I think so, yeah. I was just like, literally, I can see them out of our window now. Like all the trees are just blossoming, and they're all along the streets outside our house, and they've all got like little bits of yellow ribbon tied round them and little notes and stuff. So
tie a yellow ribbon round the yeah. Anyway.
Exactly.
I've got a friend who's got a 5-year-old daughter, and she loves the whole album, but she can't pronounce my name, and she just calls me the Heartwood Cutter Lady.
Oh,
Which is really sweet. So
You're the Green Queen to Molly.
oh,
Green Queen.
oh, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah. So next up on the album was Selkie Boy.
This was one of a pile of voice memos, I think. Julie and I went through maybe 5 or 6 different things off of my phone that I try and write tiny little underdeveloped ideas and keep a whole bank of them so it's easy to start conversations about writing songs. I think that's where this came from.
I have a very vivid memory of sitting down after dinner that night and just quite late and in that kind of quiet time just going through ideas and riffs, and as soon as you played that one that was at the top of the song, I knew that was it.
I remember you being very sure, yeah. Oh, that one, that one, yeah. What's wrong with the other ones? Yeah.
I remember in the studio for this one, so we put the kit down first, didn't we, Jim? And then, but it I kind of think it stuck with us for a little bit. I say a little bit, we were only in there for 4 days, so it stuck with us for about an hour. We're thinking, is it a bit too indie rock? Like it had that kind of thing, so then you went back in, Jim, didn't you, and did the piano on it, which kind of...
Yeah. I
I don't know,
because
it kind of held it together, that bit.
Yeah, the structure of the song, because it's first chorus and isn't it late, then I guess it kind of can easily slip into that guise as a poppy song. So yeah, once you put drums over it, then it slips further into that guise, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
So we thinned it back out again.
Rise up to greet you. Hear us and hasten higher above.
And am I right in thinking, Julie and Kris, that the chorus is like one verse of the spell that Rob wrote? So it's like you've just taken that out and used it as a repeat. Is that right?
Yeah, it is, yeah. We kept most of Rob's words intact actually, but extracted that, just those few wee lines, and to make it into a chorus, yeah. The words are so powerful. They're just...
Does anybody else think of Blind Melon when they hear this bit? Is it just me? I'm the only person that remembers that band, maybe.
The cello on this is like at Rockfield where we recorded it. It had they've got these massive reverb chambers. They're like rooms at the other side of the courtyard that you just pump noise into, and it sounds like the room sounds. And the cello, it's almost completely going through these huge echo chambers.
I so love Beth's part there. They're like almost like whale noises. It's just so beautiful.
I remember when you were writing it, spending ages trying to work something out on the ukulele, and then Karine said, "Why don't you try something like a bit slidey?" Okay.
I think it totally makes the song though.
It's beautiful.
It definitely worked.
And your mind of its human matter. Hear us and hasten.
So hard not to sing along.
I think we were crying quite a lot when this one was going down, Rachel. I seem to recall quite a lot of weeping.
Yeah, pretty much cried most of the time. But yeah, particularly
I
here.
seem to remember Jim putting his backing vocal on, And then I was sat at the mixing
Oh my
desk,
God.
and I looked down to my left, and Karine was lying on the floor looking back up at me in floods of tears, and then turned round and Rachel sat on the sofa in floods of tears.
It wasn't that bad, was it?
I didn't think Jim's singing was that bad. It was pretty good.
Painful.
Do you know what? See, in the first verse, there's that little human matter, that wee interval
Oh,
that
yeah,
you
I
do.
love that.
Oh my God, that is one of my moments on the whole album. It's just that when you did that first, it was like, oh dear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. It was. I think there was just something about. I think at that point, actually, we had quite a lot of songs written, and like you were saying at the beginning, I was kind of feeling a bit of pressure to come up with something, and sit that night with Kris with in the quiet and a wee glass of wine and a million voice memos, and that was the start of the journey. So it's funny how it all, remembering back to how it all happened.
That bit you just mentioned there, Karine, was the only bit of that arrangement that was discussed more than once, I think. That was the only
really?
bit that it was the only bit that anybody had to learn. So there
I
was like a
remember
little
it being
bit
quite
where
stressful at times, I think.
it's like just that. It's like half a bar or whatever it is extra that doesn't exist on the other verses.
Yeah,
And there was
right.
this little thing, like it went back and forth for 5 or 10 minutes trying to get it right, but the rest of it just all kind of happened.
Well,
That'll
it was
be the
worth
Gaelic
the chat,
influence.
Kris Drever, because it's
Interesting,
superb.
eh?
So-
Interesting.
I do remember when you all first got there and everybody didn't know everybody, and there was a lot of there was such a lot to do in such a small space of time, wasn't there? And as well as getting all the album done, to actually think about the show at the same time. And it was astonishing watching musicians settle into each other, and the way that you listened to each other and threw the music around and shared and stepped up and stepped back. It was astonishing for me, because, I just sit in my studio on my own colouring in all day. So, yeah, it was good.
It was an interesting thing because everybody immediately, like it was a bunch of people who were all there to take some responsibility, which was quite unusual, maybe even. Like you could do a project like that with a couple of people waiting to be utilised, but actually everybody in this instance had something to say and was ready to mobilise people around them to help them say it.
I think, though, we were actually all really good at being supporting players as well,
Yeah.
which is quite a specific skill. Because I think all of us in some capacity or other are quite used to leading projects, leading bands or MDing projects. And actually what was really beautiful was every single one of us was really great at not being the leader. And I thought that was as important. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great observation because the sideman thing is peculiar as well.
Yeah.
It actually
It felt really supportive. Like I definitely felt like I've been in other situations sometimes where I'm quite quiet, don't feel like I can get a voice in, but I feel like everybody in this group is such a good listener and that it felt so supported.
It certainly makes a difference when you're actually like, I'm the one with the lists of things to do and trying to like coordinate everybody to do it, and it makes a difference when everybody's comfortable with doing what they need to do when they need to do it, and not it's quite interesting that definitely like certainly a group of people, of musicians and people that are were comfortable to work together, which I think really shows in the music. Really, it feels like a really unified album for a project,
Yeah.
Oh, Karine's disappeared.
Oh.
Where?
Talk about her while she's gone.
She may rejoin. Shall I just go with the next one anyway, and then she can rejoin.
Yeah.
When she rejoin.
She just didn't want to listen to us anymore.
Yeah.
It is one of the ones that is more. It's straight reading, isn't it, from the book? So
Yeah.
not adapted.
It was the second thing that happened, I think.
I was
I was going to say it was early.
Yeah.
It was just not the first thing, but just after. And I remember us just sitting around. I think myself and Beth, me and you we were just sitting on the floor, and there was just a lot of vibing, people just playing little riffs, and I think we just started talking over it, and it just all it did just kind of come together quite quickly, this one.
Yeah. And Kerry was a big part of this one as well.
She was
there
really
right from
big
the start.
Yeah, she was. Her sounds, the singfisher, the zingfisher.
That really informed it, didn't it? Yeah.
This is one of the most fun ones to sing live because of those wee noises.
Absolutely.
I feel like that texture is like the basis to so much on the album, like Kris and Seckou just bubbling away underneath.
Yeah, it's a bubbling, isn't
There's
it?
loads of songs that have that on.
Firebringer, flame flicker.
That's our vibe, Jim. That's
So we roll.
Black bill,
That's our jam.
orange throat, and a quick blue, back gleaming feather stream. Neat and still, it sits on the snag of a stick until.
But your voice, Julie, because it's so precise, and you've got fantastic diction.
It sounds really Scottish. Listening back to this.
It's very spry.
Spry's a good word.
Flashes down, too fast to follow. Quick and quicker carves its hollow. In the water, slings its arrow, super swift to swallow.
Remember the pressure on this because we were doing it live, weren't we? And trying to, play it. It's an improvisation, but it's also got to be the one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Halcyon its other name. Also, ripple calmer, water nester, evening angler, weather teller.
You're not doing a bit of
and
prepared piano on this as well, Jim?
sets the stream alight.
Yeah, it felt like sacrilege actually, putting my hand in the Bohemian Rhapsody piano, putting a sweaty hand on the strings and muting it. But I did it nonetheless.
I can't remember where the lower sort of reverse noise came from now.
That's my... Yeah, it's like a
that you?
synth thing, yeah.
The stomp is just you hitting a microphone, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
I love it when it just falls into that. Beautiful.
I haven't sung that high since I was like 10 years old.
You sound good up there, Karine.
Yeah.
Angelic.
I remember you deciding to go for it as well. And I was like, right, I'm going to do this.
It's quite tricky cross rhythms, this. It took a while to get the hang of because there's lots of things kind of ebbing and flowing. Yeah.
And there was no set structure. We were just vibing this section entirely.
Really 70s, these backing vocals as well, I think.
Yeah, nice. I know what you mean, yeah. It's lovely to hear on a record, isn't it? When rather than a representation of the music has come together over a grid, it is just people jamming it out, performing it. You can always get the sense of when that's what's happening, I think. It's good.
I think this is probably the most jammy one, isn't it?
Yeah.
This will be different every time we play it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
We're just all
kinda
watching
safe.
Beth. Yeah.
It always feels very safe. Like,
Yeah.
regardless of where we are in it, it's quite a comfortable piece of music. Yeah.
It's actually lovely to hear in headphones, this one, because there's lots of wee moments that kind of just go in and out of it all. And then you don't necessarily get that in the car.
Yeah.
I
could hear something new every
I find that
time.
with listening back to all, like during doing the Hudson listening clubs, like I've just been listening back to the albums and just hearing them on headphones, and because you know, a lot of the time if I've mixed them or whatever, I've not necessarily buried, you know, like after the fact you kind of forget, but then you go back and I've obviously spent weeks perfecting all these little things going off and then kind of leave them, so it's nice to hear stuff kind of moving around and all the...
It's also interesting to hear in this running order, because it's not obviously the order that, and of course this happens with records all the time, but it's not the order that we made them in, and it's not is it the order that we perform them in. So it's like this whole other storyboard of spell songs, and it's interesting to listen to it in this guise.
And I should say that a lot of the sort of sounds in between, like that one had like kingfishers coming in and out of it, and that they all come from a guy, Kris Watson, who actually is from Sheffield as well, and he
He's a legend.
He's a legend.
He's the man. I did a gig with him recently.
Oh really? Yeah.
Wow.
I've not met him, but yeah, he said.
Yeah, he's what a lovely man. Yeah, really great.
Yeah, and so we got lots of sounds of him, and also Joe, who was like the assistant at the studio. To be honest, after the first day, there wasn't much for him to do because we were kind of all set up. So I was like, "Do you fancy going out for a walk?" And he was a bit of an enthusiast. He was a big Kris Watson fan. So he was blown away when some of his found sound from Monmouthshire made it onto the record alongside Chris's stuff.
Lovely.
So it's really nice.
Lovely.
Cool.
Joe was right out the 70s as well.
Yeah, I loved him. It's great.
Yeah, I think he went on to do the Cure record after we finished in the studio, so a bit different, but you know.
This one is proper
Who else is doing
joyous. I know!
I remember hearing it going on in a different room and being like, what is that? I want to go and dance.
Read from blue, here Hansel, a grey-winged weapon, here Hansel, beaked with steel, here Hansel, beaked from iron, here Hansel.
I remember in the studio hearing, because we hadn't really heard Seckou like rip vocally at all, and then he sang the middle section to this. I was like, what?
Amazing, yeah.
He's coming up in a minute.
I know,
couldn't believe his
I know.
voice.
Beaked from iron, here Hansel,
Do you know, every single time I call Seckou to mind, he's beaming inside my head. He looks like this music. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
This just came from nowhere as well. He just kind of whacked it out, plucked it from thin air, you know. This whole bit.
I was in the second part of the first morning, and it's the first time I'd ever had a kora player to myself. We were just kind of jamming away at various things, and he had this. Yeah, this is the A part of this. It's like, no problem to sit and play this for a couple of hours, just kind of continuously grooving. Fun, lots and lots of fun.
Does anyone know what he's actually singing in the other bits?
Well, the main translation that's in the book is, if you see a heron sitting on top of a donkey, then the cow is missing.
I seem to remember maybe it was the second day, Kris, when you guys were well embedded in this groove. Was it me and you, Rachel? We gate crashed
I
you
think that was
in the room that
me.
you were in. Was it
We
Julie?
did.
Yeah. And we just totally breached in.
Yeah, no, that was
Yeah,
like
you
how.
did.
So the song got. It all happened in one thing, I think. It wasn't even second day, so.
Oh, was it? Right, okay.
No, it started, and then it kind of built, and then people, because we were kind of in the middle of the house.
Yeah.
So you guys kind of heard this thing going on and came in.
And
So by the
started
time-
vamping over the top. Yeah.
Yeah, we sat down, and by the time we left, it was complete. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone was piling in bit by bit.
Yeah.
We
Only
were
Beth
all,
and I
and we
came
were
in
all
and-
dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Totally amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely.
And I was upstairs painting an egret sitting on Rachel's harp.
Oh. You weren't sitting on Rachel's harp.
No, I was trying to listen to some music, but there was all this noise coming up from downstairs.
Just noticed that's behind you, Rachel.
Yeah, I thought I'd put it in pride of place.
And it's here tonight.
Here we are. Oh my word, yeah. I've got hankies as well. I've got everything ready.
just in case.
So,
I've got wine.
I've already been silently crying to myself, so it's great.
Yeah.
What's next?
Jim.
Oh,
Oh my goodness.
Weirdly.
Speaking of getting the hankies out.
Weirdly, this is the thing that got written in that space, either directly
Same
after
space.
or directly before
Yeah,
that last
I remember.
song. Yes.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Where have you gone? And how is your song still torrenting on? You're short of breath up there in thin air. Your magical song still tumbling on. Right now I need you. Right now I need you. Right now I need you. For my sadness has come again.
Really interesting when I was mixing this to get Kris and Jim's vocals together, because they're quite different sounding voices, you know, to make it work together in the mix.
Right now I need you. Right now I need you. Right now I need you. For my sadness has come again.
Oh,
I know you.
that space before that little run is.
Keeping on to deep space, past dying stars and suns. Little astronaut sing, 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 little astronaut sing. Right now I need you. Right now I need you. Right out, where have you gone? And how is your song still torrenting on?
Yeah, lovely, Jim.
Oh, everyone,
It's a really little compositional thing I've never really noticed there before, or I've never heard it in that way. There's the whole refrain towards the end there before the final verse, and it's on an upward trajectory all the time. It's going up and up and up and up and up, and it's repetitive. And then there's one harmonic change. I think it's maybe an F#7, and it changes the direction of the whole thing dynamically, and then that harmonic change somehow says now it's going to end. Interesting.
I think that was your thing as well. I seem to remember.
Yeah, probably, but that wasn't. I didn't think about
Genius.
I didn't.
Didn't realise how
think-
much of a genius it was.
I didn't think. I was just for variation. You know, it wasn't for a change of direction. At least that was my thinking. I think, but it's like, oh, I actually flipped it anyway. You go, yeah, I'm awesome.
There was something though when that song started to emerge. The atmosphere in the house changed, and it was just astonishing. I remember going and finding Caroline, because Caroline and Adam, who put everyone together, kept very much out of the way, didn't they? They kind of stepped back and just turned up and fed us amazing food. And I had to go and drag her to get her in to come and listen. And then she just cried. I just don't know why.
This is so bad. Yeah.
I remember first hearing that in the big room when I think we'd kind of heard little snippets of it just walking through the other room like earlier that day or something. We must have come together later on, and yeah, I just really vividly remember hearing that for the first time, and I think a few of us that had heard it, that hadn't heard it already, were just in floods. It's just.
So I mean, how did that? So I obviously I was in the house as well and seeing stuff happening and people writing stuff, and obviously there's certain songs where like Heartwood, Karine had worked up a fair bit, or The Blessing, before you got to the house, and then worked with everyone from there, and then there was other things where there was like a sample on Kris's phone or something, but like, so there's all these sort of different ways of sort of writing the music for this and collecting, and then some of it's just directly what Robert's written in the book. What's like with that one, Jim? And Kris? How did you come across that one?
I think that one. I remember taking the book and reading the words, and the tune popped straight into my head. The rhythm of the words dictated this tune that was just there in my head immediately. I didn't have to think about it. It was just that was the tune, and it was going to be in that time, and that was the rhythm. I think it was like the least premeditated that it could have possibly been, really.
Yeah, it kind of you came with the verse thing, and then I think Sekkou's was the Right Now I Need You melody. I think that came from him. I may have misremembered that, but I think it. Yeah, I think they just kind of fell one into the other. You started singing the song, and Seckou seemed to think that was the obvious next thing to happen. Mm-hmm. And then the middle eight took us a little bit longer, I think, maybe, but
yeah,
none of it. Yeah, it was just like we sat down. It was a bit like the other one we talked about, the previous one, where we sat down, and by the time we left, it was finished. Like kids doing drawings, you know. Like,
and we had like that Dropbox of like ideas and just inspirations from like the weekend together. How many things in that sort of came to life on the album, do you think? Like bits that you put in there, because you put quite a lot, Kris, didn't you? Guitar.
I did. I just did like in sort of instant free responses to images for the most part, and the only I wasn't they weren't precious ideas. They were just things that meant nobody had to start from nothing with those things. So I think maybe only one or two ended up. Rachel, you used...
Yeah, I think
You
is it
used
the
one,
next
didn't you?
for it? Is that the next track? I think it is. Yeah, I kind of just like put on, just sort of listened through all of those just to see if anything kind of came to mind, and I think one of the ones that you played kind of inspired me for Acorn, although like the tuning's totally different. But I think it was more just the feel of it, really. And I suppose kind of like what Jim was just saying with Acorn, it was like the tune was just there, just reading the words. It was like that was the tune that came out, but it was
You were
kind of
also
informed by
really,
that
you
feel.
were super brave, I think, because on that first day, it was a really intimidating thing to sit down, all of us, and we didn't all know one another really well. And we sat down that first morning, and it's like, right, how are we going to
Thanks for
start
taking that,
this?
Rachel.
And you were so brave, and you went, I've got a little idea. Does anybody want to hear it? And then it all just poured out from there, and it was
Yeah.
I've got a real clear memory of that process beginning, and it all started with you. It's lovely.
Someone has to go first.
I think there's some. I'm interested in the whole idea of like, because Kris, when you talked about making your improvisations, it was as a result of Jackie's images rather than the words.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then how that becomes a thing that then meets the words, if you know what I mean. And there's something about like because the sound of the album overall is really spacious. Like it's all about space. It's a very and there's lots of wee details and but the whole feeling is one of expanse. And that's the feeling of the book. The book is like that too, like literally spatially, visually expansive. So there's something really interesting about how those things marry up, I think.
Yeah.
Jackie Morris.
Yes, sorry.
It's a difficult
No,
bit
I
of
wasn't
knitting.
listening.
That was a wee cheeky way of just saying how influential you were upon the music, Jackie.
Thank you very much. I still find it really difficult that people talk about the lost words by Robert Macfarlane, and I almost want to pull their pages out and go, there, you read it now. Take all my pictures away if that's how you feel. But it's when we were working on the book to begin with, I said to Robert, you always have to read the words aloud. They have to be spoken aloud. And then every time he sent me a new spell, it came with instructions. And the new book we've been working on, he's getting really specific now. He wrote a moth spell and he said, take it out at twilight and read it. Just at twilight. He even tells me sometimes, you have to go down to the beach and read this one on the beach at a certain time of day. Very controlling. But it's got that rhythm of language, hasn't it? It's, that I guess for you becomes music. The way the words run together. And it's interesting for me to see how you then make music out of the visual. That's it, I'll go back to painting. I don't paint anymore, I just knit.
Responding to images in that way, it's not something that I'd ever done before. And like I say, I don't know how useful it was ultimately to the project, but it was an interesting experience in that some music came out that wasn't, that I had no intentions of producing, So like something, and when you're looking at something or focusing on something, you remove some of the conscious nature of operating a musical instrument or something like that.
And I listen to a lot of music when I'm painting as well. I can't when I'm writing, but when I paint I do.
I do think when you're writing, when you can be writing a song or just writing any music, I think even though you're not writing, you may not be writing to an image, you are kind of writing to an image. If you're writing a song regarding a specific topic, your brain has those images and you're still using pictures, even though it's in the subconscious. I found that like during this lockdown, I've been trying to write music in that way, and just kind of write down the words that are the image in my head, and then write a piece of music in that direction. Yeah. Went super deep there, sorry guys.
Nice. Love it.
Where are your tiny hands?
Your hands are
They're just normal. They're just normal. What's wrong?
That's better.
Props.
Oh, that's lovely. I do like a bit of bird song.
So Kris's improvisation that we talked about earlier is the kind of introduction to the song.
As flake is to blizzard, as carve is to sphere, as not as to mend, as one is to many, as coin is to money, as bard is to flock, as rock is to mountain, as drop is to fountain, as spring is to river, as glint is to glitter, as near is to far, as wind is.
It's lovely how this song just pushes and pulls. It's almost like someone breathing, and you can hear everyone moving with it just as one. It's amazing, really. We hardly had spent any time together before we recorded that.
As kindness is to good, so acorn
Love the cello.
That little line there is great.
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
I think that comes, Julie, with just like the fact that as well we were doing it all together in the space, really, and even like all the backing vocals, sometimes the main vocals, like on The Blessing, were done in a room all facing each other together.
Yeah.
There's no
In the cold.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
in the
cold room.
strange cold village hall.
Arctic.
Yeah, but it meant you wanted to get out of the room quicker, so
Yeah.
you had to get it right.
Focus the mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does give everything an airy quality because you've not got that close booth feel to a lot of the vocals, if you know what I mean. It's like we're literally in a shared space, and so there's something about it that it's literally got air around all the voices. It's what it feels like to me. It's so gentle, Acorn. I love it. It's like someone brushing your arm. It's just... it's lovely.
Oh, Kris, this is your glass.
The wine glass.
Oh yeah.
It's your wine glass.
Yeah.
This
iPhone
is from-
sample.
Yeah, from the telephone.
From the telephone, yeah.
From the telephone.
This is the one that's going to get synced for some Northern Scottish noir series.
Scandi kind of thing, yeah.
Oh yeah, man, it's happening.
I was thinking maybe like Professor Brian Cox or something. Right up his street. The moon is massive. The stars are amazing.
I think Joe at the studio was there was some owls outside in one of the other buildings, and we tried to get the owls every night the whole time we were at the studio, but it just wasn't quite enough, which is a shame because it would have been great. You did this one. You wrote a lot of this one with Kerry, didn't you, Jim?
Yeah. Yeah, she came up with the melody.
We were kind of in the room together a bit again, weren't we?
Yeah.
Just sort of.
Yeah.
He has a beautiful voice.
Gorgeous, yeah.
Some of those noises in the background was this little pocket piano synth that I brought and gave it to Kris, plugged it in through the chambers and let Kris just mess around for
There's a kind of interesting harmonic filter on that piano. You can play tunes on it and it has this little resonance that's up in an area we don't often hear. If you just just tweak it back and forth,
It's kind of like your safe space, isn't it, Kris? Just twiddling knobs for a take.
Yeah, if I can find a noise that I like, I'll stay there for a while, no problem.
Tremolo on the backing vocals there.
I love the outro.
Yeah, I love the piano at the end.
It's great, Andy. I love that.
Yeah.
It's quite extreme, fast and quite deep. It's good.
Great.
Hypnotic, innit?
Yeah, it's good. Well, that's a good noise as well.
When to stop it.
I know.
Good. Yeah.
It's
It's
always
really
exciting.
interesting.
I
Go on,
was
Rachel.
going to say it's always exciting at gigs as to when that's going to end. I'm never quite sure where that means.
It's the sort of thing you could put a certain amount of times round, but it's better to leave it. I don't know.
Yeah. It's because we recreated the wine glass drum kit in the gigs just by hitting the bass guitar. And then Seckou does the snare by pinging his kora, pinging one of the handles of his kora.
Works a treat.
Yeah. It's a really interesting collection of elements, that song.
Yeah.
I think it's less production-y than it sounds. Actually, you know, it's like it is people in spaces making music, although it's got this kind of
Electronic.
Yeah.
think that comes from a lot of the parts being quite simple and repetitive. It does give it that production-y feel, but you get really thick sounds, and then really there's only like the fact that the phone's in there and it gives that kind of lo-fi vibe from the top that really kind of influences the rest of the sonic thing. And then
it's like that thing, isn't it? Sometimes if you put an interesting reverb on one thing in an ensemble, it makes everything else feel like it's in that space. It's that same sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, really, probably the only bit of like real production stuff on that really is the vibrato-y thing at the end on the vocals. Really, the rest of it is kind of just solid. What we took really. Snow Hair. That's next.
Cool.
The hair turns white as the year turns black. Oh, the rain is falling. The hair turns white as the year turns black. Oh, the dark is rising. By the loch of the birds he hunkers down in the heather. He waits for the veil of snow to come and cover him over. The snow hare hides in the mountain moss. Oh, the sleet is falling. The snow hare hides in the mountain moss. Oh, the dark is rising. By the cairn of the goose he hunkers down in the heather. He longs for the veil of snow to come and cover him over. The hare he waits on the highest still, but the snow is no more.
Really hear you, Kris Drever, in the headphones.
There's little bits of noise in there, yeah. It was a combination of
by the rock of the stock he shelters
pedals that we used, but we used almost the same set for all of them, for all the things on this record. Lots of freeze, lots and lots of freeze. And a pulsar, which is a kind of old-fashioned trem vib thing that Andy brought with him.
It's nice, you don't hear that in the car either.
No, the broken guitar drone. Yeah.
I need to test these mixes in the car more, don't I, Karine? In your car.
Well, I'm sure you can get a plug-in for that now, Andy.
Yeah.
Karine Polwart's car.
Fiesta, 1 litre.
That's right, yeah. Abbey Road, Studio 3.
So, Julie, this was me and you sat together in the dining room, wasn't it? It's like Cluedo.
Yeah,
Julie
like,
in the dining room.
In the dining room, after coffee.
Yeah.
No, I remember quite clearly working on this, and you really carefully and quickly gave it a steer in the direction of a traditional song, and picking out words and phrases but shaping it into a more traditional delivery, I guess.
Yeah.
And going back to Jackie's thing about the vision and imagery and all of that, the thing that I immediately and naturally did is to imagine the last time that I saw snow here, and I was just describing it to you, and you picked up on that thing that I sometimes take for granted, that thing about Gaelic place names and how rich they are, and you almost forget about it sometimes, but we took those and then brought them back into English to give the song a bit of colour and a bit of place.
And that thing about the place names, the whole idea of that it's the rock of the stag, like, so the grammatical structures immediately sounds are old, you know.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, just because of that reversal of how you describe something. Yeah.
And it was a lovely thing, because for years and years, I guess, Karine, we've been singing beside one another or on the same stage or at the same festivals or at the same gigs, but we've never, up until that point, we'd never had the chance, I don't think, to actually just sing together, just the two of us.
Yeah.
And it was lovely. It was totally great to do it.
It was, and actually singing in unison is quite a treat as well. And there's a few beautiful moments of unison on the album, actually, not just harmony. But it was lovely to try and match one another's voices. I really enjoyed that. But the structure definitely came quickly. That whole idea of like that there are threes, you know, that things often come in threes. Yep. So there's 3 verses, and that you've got these a refrain structure. So the second and the fourth line of the top of the verses. Oh, the rain is falling. Oh, the sleet is falling. Oh, is it snow? I can't remember. Anyway,
but the snow is no more falling.
Yeah, the snow is no more falling.
Yeah.
So you've got that. It's a very ballad kind of style of composition, if you know what I mean. And the whole thing about the dark is rising, because I think Rob had just been on Twitter talking about a book that I remember when I was at school in the 70s. It was a series of books called The Dark is Rising by this writer called Susan Cooper. And he'd just done some online book club thing on Twitter about how it was his favourite book as a kid. And I was like, oh, no way. I used to buy these books on the book club leaflet that got sent home in your school bag. And there was 5 of them, and I remember saving up and buying them all. So that was a wee nod to Rob's book, and because the whole snow hair image, exactly.
Yeah, it's him.
Is that Jackie? That's you and him. Is that right? The snow hair's Rob, yeah. Aye, yes.
And one of the interesting things for me is we've just finished work on The Lost Spells, and Snow Hair is in that. And after hearing your song and how you changed his words, he's gone back and rewritten his spell. Oh. So from what you saw when we were in, where were we? In the Lake District to begin with, when it's kind of turned around again, and the words have changed again, and he's taken on the place names with the animals. I wish I could remember it, but I haven't quite got it in my head yet. But it's curious to see that change happening.
Lovely. Right.
Slightly having the ground shifted onto my feet because I'd already illustrated it, and left enough space for the words, and then he put more in.
It's quite exciting to think about. We've got all that to look forward to, like the wave 2 of stuff. It's quite exciting.
Yeah. Well, I hope you like it. Worked very hard on it.
Cabinet maker, could you craft me a conker? Oil its wood, burnish its veneer, set it glowing from within.
Never. Not a chance. No hope at all.
King, then, could you command me a conker? Compel its green spikes to grow, its white plush to thicken.
Impossible. Impractical. Inconceivable.
I remember some of us girls having a conversation about how the engineer had to be a woman.
Refine its form, mill its curves and
I was pretty determined I was going to be the engineer.
Manufacture me a magic casket.
No question.
Unworkable. Unimaginable.
Realise this,
said the cabinet maker, the king and the engineer together.
Conquer cannot be made. However you ask it, whatever word or tool you use, regardless of degree, only one thing can conjure conquer, and that thing is 3.
I love it.
I remember when we all met in Keswick, and we were all reading some of the spells aloud, and you guys had all these lovely Scottish, beautiful soft Scottish accents had gone first, and I thought, somebody said, like, Beth, you read something. I was like, no, I don't want to read something.
I felt like that, so. Cabinet maker. I love the way Seckou says decree.
I love it. Yeah,
beautiful.
Love it.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the other one that came from an improvisation, I think. That was an early attempt to play the rhythm of the words.
I really like as well. That's kind of like a little kind of sorbet 2/3 of the way through the album. Just like you know, it's quite heavy, and then that just kind of like a little refresher just to get you going for the last few. You know, like nice.
Yeah. Oh.
I have to play the album to Molly when she's going to sleep, and when it gets to that one, she's usually asleep by that one, but I'm always a bit afraid it'll wake her up because it's just a slight change in direction. But yeah, luckily she just sleeps through it.
Is that a good thing?
Well, sometimes I get to the end of the album before she's asleep, but yeah.
That's very disappointing when that happens, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a 52-minute album. Yeah, that's like mental.
This wee small, it's almost like a lullaby or something, just came out of the idea of the way that words were being lost and that connection to things like nature was being lost. We were just, myself and Seckou just were chatting one day about how we could see the same about the languages that we were speaking. So I guess the song just grew out of that conversation. And, there's a couple of Gaelic proverbs in here that we just played about with, and it's lovely to hear Seckou singing in his own language in Mandinka, and just listen to him freestyle. It's amazing.
I think it's amazing to hear both languages next to each other as well. It's just probably the first time that's ever been done. It's amazing.
It's a niche market, the Gaelic Mandinka duet album.
Brilliant.
Do it.
Yeah.
For someone with such a big voice and capable of such amazing power and projection, this is the softer side of Sekkou's voice.
Yeah, amazing range. All that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Well, if Conquer wakes Molly up, that one's going to put her to sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
But just before you, Beth. Just before she gets to hear you.
Occasionally we get this far. All right.
best whistling ever.
Top class.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And to do it live as well.
Yeah, it's the most nerve-wracking thing. Whistling live. This is we got to see some of those other spells when we were in Keswick, and the Goldfinch one was one that came up, and it just took me straight back to Wigtown. And so the verses of this are kind of inspired by the Marshes Walk, just down the road. This is Rachel's lovely little tune.
And then we recorded the little while the clapping comes in, which seemed like a really good idea until I realised that I was going to have to be one of the people that did the clapping live, but singing in harmony, a totally different thing at the same time.
It was so nice bringing this idea to you guys, and that thing about being listened to, and like just everybody coming up with something really beautiful on it. And I just remember really grinning, playing it, really grinning, thinking this is so nice to, be all playing together. So nice.
I love that cheeky bass. Do, do.
But your chords, Beth, and your melody is really distinctive in the context of this album. It's I don't know, it reminds me of songs from the 40s or 50s or something. There's I can't quite think, but
it has a bit of a Nick Drake vibe to me as well. It's got like quite an English sound about the melody.
Somebody said that English thing to me the other day. Oh yeah, I am English, that's it. No, they were saying that this particularly sounds quite English, and I don't know what that means, but
No, I couldn't. I would struggle to define it in musical terms, but it does to me as well.
I'm just saying, Kris, I don't know if you heard, but just how it was so nice to bring this to the group and play it all with you guys, and you bringing your parts to it, and everybody just building.
It came really quick. It was like it was ready for a band, wasn't it? It was good.
Yeah. And the backing vocals are so nice.
They were hard. They were really hard. Yeah, the only other time I've had this experience was working with Eliza Carthy in Songs of Separation, and trying to construct vocal harmonies to her melody lines was the same as this. We're kind of going, oh, where do I go here?
But also when you've got four, well, particularly female voices, but other voices as well, sometimes you're not quite sure where to go, or like you forget the harmony that you did, or
you can run out of space.
Oh, it's lovely.
I particularly enjoyed Beth's costume.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just as a goldfinch on stage.
So we were in the minibus all kind of meeting up for the first gig, and Jackie said something along the lines of, I hope nobody comes in I hate people who dress up as like the birds, or like the goldfinch or anything. It was basically saying, hope nobody does that. And then I came with this full-on yellow and red costume. Like knowing that I had it in my bag, going, I don't have anything else. What am I going to do?
For the second record, would it be too far if we all actually dressed furry style as the creatures for the recordings? Is that
would be warm, I suppose.
I think,
The only thing with that is that Jackie and I were doing a different project about fairies, and we were having a chat with Mary Waterson, and Jackie was talking about doing a painting of me, and Mary decided that I would be a slug. So I don't really want to spend a week in the studio dressed as a slug.
Just in a sleeping bag, you'd be fine.
Thanks, Mary. Yeah.
Yeah, we would have to take it so that everyone was in character for the whole recording process, wouldn't we? So
that'd be easy.
Yeah.
Get
a special dispensation. Slugs can't actually operate consoles, so.
We had you down as Raven from the start, though, if I recall, Mr. Drever. I seem to recall in that very first meeting at Keswick that you read out the Raven spell, and we were like,
that was it.
What? Like, of course. So.
Yeah, I've been in that character ever since, and indeed for some years before.
Did we ever decide what Andy is? Did we actually ever come up with that?
Well, Mary's got it, doesn't she? Slug.
I know, I can't see past slug now.
I think some sort of like a badger, maybe.
Badger. I like badger. That's nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I should be like Hudson the Hound, who's just, I'm just showing him on the phone, just asleep under my feet right now. Cool.
The badger, despised by Tories. Is that
yeah, great. Yeah.
Is that going to get on?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, I love it.
I think this one was, wasn't there a dance to this one that Seckou created that I think Karine said she would demonstrate for us?
You know, it involves really, 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 really strong abdominal muscles.
Yeah. It has to be a training.
It's really hard.
It's like,
this is your isolation workout, yeah.
Yeah, you need to have been doing your PE regularly for this.
Oh, Jinx, you're Joe Wicks. Yeah.
I think we'd reached that point in the studio at this point where we needed a dance.
Yeah.
When the wind blows, whisper while we listen, so we learn what words your long leaves loosen. Whisper when the wind blows. Listen for a day, a week, till we know what the willows say. Leaning on listeners. Listen for a week, a day, but you will never hear what willows say. Open up your heart wide. Show you deep within your rough without your water brushing bow. You shoot your grain, you're not.
You don't listen like a mullah, so live
Love those 6 beats before the...
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's really satisfying.
Yeah.
Nice shells coming in there, Jim.
Still got those. Did you ever want them back?
Oh, you got my shells. I wonder where they go. You nick all the percussion, you do. You got a set of congas somewhere. Bongos.
I think it might be wind chimes, actually.
Wind chimes. Yeah.
There's a guitar part on this that only ever happened in the studio. Because live I've been playing bass on this.
Yeah.
They play bass next to her.
Are you going to play
Yes,
bass next to her?
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
Slap bass.
Whisper while we listen, so we learn what words your long leaves loosen.
We could go really tap on it, Karine, and have some numbers with 2 basses.
Yeah, love it.
I love how you fit it. You fit all the words into the phrases, like Rachel.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that as well, Rachel.
Yeah,
is
It's
it
close
did
to
you
how
have to
it
do
gets
much
to rap,
editing?
isn't it? I suppose.
Well, I just remember, because I remember like going through and listening to Seckou and just having this idea that I wanted to do something that was just like
It's almost, Rachel, it's almost like Push to Bail, but in English with this kind of
I think
different...
it's kind of that sort of thing, So I think, I'm just trying to think about what the words... I don't think they changed too much from what's written, from what Rob wrote, but I think just slightly, just to sort of... I think it was more that the kind of... Because I just knew that it was...
I like how in this explanation of that, you've retained the mystery of the songwriting.
But it was more about just changing, like changing how long that bit went on for. And that was that.
One more? Do you want to do one more time? One more.
Can we all do it?
It's a vibe. It's a vibe. Oh man.
More weeping.
Do you remember the different versions we were trying to get out of this, Rachel? Like Kris sent us off to try and get some other versions. We just, I don't know. I remember that didn't come out.
Lions to Thor and blow. They used to call you milk witch or parachute. They used to call you evening glow. Scatter see the fallen star of the football.
I wrote this in the demoing stage, or like parts of it, and I was kind of trying to channel like Michael Mara, you know, that sort of ballad thing.
Michael McDonald was that?
It didn't say Michael McDonald, no.
Dazzle me.
Oh, I really love that harmony.
Son of the grass, I hear you roaring, death to long perfection. The time.
It's amazing to me the amount of like pathos you get out of this lyric is just like beautiful.
It was quite an easy job moving this around because there's a ready-made punchline at the end of those choruses. It's easy to make them work in any order, nearly, you know.
When you put this song together, I thought those punchlines were like, I think the way that we listened to them, I thought they would get a laugh almost, but then I think because of the delivery of the song,
that's where Michael Mara comes in, you see, Jim.
I think this bit is the this Karine's harmonium through a Leslie as well, I think.
Oh, nice.
That's the accordion again, isn't it?
I love that clicking.
You hear it panned across with the room as well.
It's kind of it's like a clock-like effect, isn't it, really? Got that kind of sound.
Love the cello.
Yeah, the strings really sound like a full section. It's amazing.
You're playing on that as well, aren't you, Rach?
Yeah, fiddle.
Julie.
Viola, are you on that, yeah?
I forgot all about
it. It's lovely though, because there's very few instrumental moments on the album, actually. That's one of the few. Lovely.
Yeah, I didn't play the fiddle on this, but I spent quite a lot of money getting it serviced before the recording, and all I did was hit it with a chopstick at some point. Can't remember when.
Money well spent.
Oh, lovely.
Beautiful.
Oh, it's a really gorgeous song, yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
So I think we're on to the last song.
Oh,
And
my
maybe
goodness.
before whoever wants to chat about it, I just thought I'd say,
Blow my nose again.
because it feels like you can't really say much after this song because it's so perfect. But I'm just going to say it because I am. This is, thanks to everyone who put the spell songs together. Obviously, thanks to Jackie and Rob for writing Lost Words and drawing and painting and whatever else the Lost Words. But thanks to Caroline and Adam and Neil for all the hard work putting it together, and Elly doing amazing photos. Obviously, you've been listening to the Lost Words and everybody chatting about Lost Words spell songs and everyone chatting about it. You can go and buy it if you like. There's Rachel's prepared, pre-prepared. Well done, Rachel. There's and Julie. And Jackie. Yes, everyone. I bet none of you got the vinyl as well, did you?
Oh,
No.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen one yet.
my computer's on the vinyl. I've got the vinyl.
The
But
vinyl
my
is
computer's
very
on it,
lovely.
resting on it.
I've got the vinyl.
It's bad for the vinyl.
Yeah, I've got the vinyl.
You can get one. Please go and support the record and support independent music and support all music. But
Thank you. Thanks as well to Ben and Dave, who's doing all our graphics and everything and on the live shows. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Hey, do you know who I've seen ducking in and out of shot? I just thought it was worth a wee mention.
Oh,
Jackie.
Where is he?
Robin. Where is he?
Can you just
He can't hear anything.
stand here over my shoulder?
He doesn't know what we're saying about him.
You can't
We're going to wave up just because. Let Robin!
Yeah.
Oh. And Robin serviced us with gin and Bloody Marys.
Yeah.
Which was a key part.
I've realised I've got Andy here. I just realised what I've got in this room.
Yeah.
It really brings out your eyes. That.
Oh, what are we getting behind Jackie's head here? Oh.
And thanks, Andy, for bringing it all together, because it's amazing.
Sounds
job producing
amazing.
them. Yeah, totally amazing.
Yeah, maybe just worth saying how little time we had to record, because it was all written, arranged, and recorded in 8 days altogether?
8 days, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we had 4 days in the studio, didn't we? And then, and that was like bonkers. That was like crazy working, a lot long hours, and everybody was just amazing on it, and so focused and supportive, and there wasn't a single paddy in the studio, which was amazing.
There was no time.
No time for paddies, Yeah. But I it's one of my proudest records. So thanks to you
lovely.
guys.
Thanks, Andy.
Love you.
It's a shame that Newt never made the cut, but maybe the next one.
Oh yeah. We did spend actually just before the day that we kind of moved to the studio from the house that we were making all the music in. We actually spent probably the most time that we spent on any song.
Yeah,
I think it was 2 hours at least.
Oh no!
Because the piano in Rockfield was the one that was used for Bohemian Rhapsody.
Well, it turns out it wasn't even. It wasn't.
Was it not?
They got a different warning.
It was that one. It's that one.
Oh, sorry. Yes, it was that one.
No, there's 2 that it could have been. It was that one or a white one, and they're not sure which. But
Freddie played. It did play it though, so.
Yeah.
I seem to remember we had a wee line that went, I see a little silhouette of a newt. Anyway, it was a classic.
The whole song.
Volume 2. So, yeah.
Left on the
Dear
writing
Robert.
room floor.
With Heather and Raven.
Oh, yeah.
But actually, Raven was going to be great.
So,
That's what's going to be
Yeah.
cool.
Volume 2.
yeah, that was Heather. Heather was good. I liked Heather.
Heather was a stone cold banger.
Heather was my favourite, absolute favourite of them all. Oh, it's going to be in my head all night, that.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. So the blessing.
Here we go.
Yeah. So I think this one came together because we weren't just making an album, but we were preparing for a live show, and there was an awareness that you have to have something to close things, and that, so we just needed something that was felt like an end, I think, and the idea for it came from the. And Julie, you can maybe say more about this, but when I made an album with my friend Pippa Murphy a few years ago, and I was reading Carmina Gadelica, which is a collection of Gaelic hymns and blessings and loads of them. And loads of them, and it felt really like a kindred thing to this that we were making, because so many of the images are from the natural environment, and you end up with lullabies and blessings that talk about creatures and where they live, and it just felt like this project was ready-made to pull in images and lights from as many spells as possible, and that's kind of where it came from, that idea.
It was really nice, I think, I remember we had this massive bit of paper, and we were drawing all different coloured pens and different ideas, bringing them all together, and it felt like it was just a lovely collective moment, I suppose.
It was a big group effort, and just line by line, just everybody working the lines and coming up with ideas, and Karine at the helm, and it was just it's a really special song. I think, and every time we sing it, I honestly genuinely feel the kind of emotion of that moment of pulling it all together. It's it's the perfect way to finish the album and to finish the show as well.
And it came together quite quickly, didn't it, Jim? Because you came up with that form for the chord sequence.
Yeah. Well, I guess the tune, again, it sort of just presented itself. The tune was there, and then the chords seemed fairly obvious as to what they should be. Yeah. I love
they go
playing
back to the
this one
unison
live.
singing.
Yeah. Yeah, the unison's amazing.
I think the way that all our voices worked together was a result of although it wasn't a lot of time, it was such concentrated time that we'd spent together listening to each other, and just being with each other, in that week. And I think that really just was invaluable to just the way that we could kind of really lock in.
And you were all together in the, all four of you were singing it in that space.
In the space together,
facing each other together. A metre, 2 meters apart, 2 meters everybody apart, and isolation distances, and it worked. It worked great.
Yeah, it had to be that. It had to be all together, didn't it?
And that was how it was made, because we were sitting on the floor of that one. It's funny, in a house with so many big spaces, we all huddled in that it was a wee transit space between the dining room and the rest of the house. Was where we ended up huddling. Yeah. And so we were kind of in that proximity when we were making it up. And I love all in terms of the vocal, the little wee moments when the four women's voices break into harmony are they're so particular where that happens. There's that wee moment in the final verse of the "Oh My Little Silver Seeker," where we just go super quiet, and it's just a lovely wee moment. So, yeah. But it was all there. It was all in the book. It was just like fishing.
Yeah.
It was like sitting by the river and just waiting for fish. Yeah. Anyway, I'm looking forward to whenever we get to go out again, whenever that is, and to round 2 in January all being well.
Yeah, it would be nice to see other human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enter the wild with care, my love, and speak the things you see. Let new names take and root and thrive and grow. And even as you travel far from heather, crag and river, may you, like the little fisher, set the stream alight with glitter. May you enter now as otter, without falter, into water. Look to the sky with care, my love, and speak the things you see. Let new names take and root and thrive and grow. And even as you journey on, past dying stars exploding like the gilded one in flight, leave your little gifts of light. And in the dead of night, my darling, find the gleaming eye of starling, like the little aviator. Sing your heart to all dark matter.
Love that little bit.
All the muffled studio noises.
Yeah,
Just
it's
the
nice.
chat of the session.
It's a really nice idea, that.
This has been sung in many schools, and people have. I've just had somebody else who's arranged a version for choir. Obviously, Jim did one for the Albert Hall thing that we did, and
That was amazing.
it's just so nice that it's just spread so much. This project, the book, obviously, but everything.
In the space of one night in Edinburgh, I heard from a woman who's a wheelchair user and a dancer, and she'd just learned a song the weekend before at a dance workshop by an American tutor, and another woman who's a choir leader who was in a workshop in Catalonia who'd learned it there.
Wow.
Like, amazing.
Grows bleaker, be the singer and the speaker, and in city and in forest,